Hello. Today we're going to discuss week 2, day 2 concepts. You should have gone over everything in week 1, starting from understanding concepts, readings, the virtual conference, and the low stakes homework assignment was like 5 points. So try again, and let's do this thing. So to start, this slideshow lecture is going to incorporate some examples. I know it keeps saying day 2 module 1. I need to fix that, but anyway. We'll also review upcoming readings and assignments to close out the week. The first thing that I want to stress is that each scenario has its own merits and its own weak spots, I would say. For my face-to-face courses, we got to discuss our likes and dislikes of the scenarios. I feel like that was very helpful. But for my online classes, you have to consider this on your own. Consider what you like and dislike about the scenarios. Studying the scenarios, whichever one that you chose, it can be helpful, in particular because professional tests are not always going to be objectively interesting, but internally, they are problems that require innovative solutions. And that's one of the goals of this course, to help you with your problem solving for workplace scenarios. So we should also, when we're looking at the scenarios, and for anything you compose in this course, consider PAD, purpose, audience, and design. For purpose, it's more about why do you want to write? What is the end goal in communicating? What can be accomplished? For the audience, how can it be stated quickly, articulately, and persuasively, probably using logos, maybe some pathos, but more about logos. For design, how is the document going to look? Because that hinges on your credibility, your ethos. So for audience, once you know what you want to accomplish, consider exactly who is going to read the document, as you're going to have to mention their name, and think of how it's best to convince that person, that one audience, and how you can also convey timeliness of the situation, or kairos. This convincing often hinges on tone, word choice, but tone. For the purposes of this class, there are 3 different types of tone, and they're all useful in different ways. Some are better than others. Some are better left in small doses, if at all. So we have the 3 on the screen: assertive, aggressive, and passive tone. Consider what tone means in a professional setting. You can apply active voice when trying to call attention to something, like the picture on the dog, that top picture. On the left hand of that, the picture, the posters of the dogs, the active voice sounds better than the right hand version using passive voice. Passive voice can have a tendency to sound convoluted, pretentious. In this case, the passive voice sentence is a lot more awkward to read. Someone less familiar with the English language might need to read it multiple times before they fully understand it. I mean, anybody might have to read it a couple times. However, very appropriate, passive tone is very appropriate when creating rules, regulations, or legal writing for a business. In the rules and regulations picture on the bottom here, the company X, you can see how passive voice works better there because it comes off as less accusatory It's using more words, certainly, but being less blunt for this type of professional writing works better than active voice in that case. You can see on a case-to-case basis, you have to apply tone in different ways. So using passive voice in any situation where you want to sound like an objective third party is preferable. Examples could include a scientific report, a company handbook, or a contract, whereas active voice is a better choice for a marketing type design to engage and excite the reader. Oftentimes, any type of aggression in professional writing should be avoided. When drafting correspondence, tone is as important as the audience. Who you're writing to dictates how you're going to write the response, tone, and what the audience needs to know, purpose. The audience also dictates which type of document suits their needs and the purpose of communication. So for my face-to-face classes, even for my online classes, I've talked about how you're going to address a superior differently than you would a friend, a colleague, or an employee. And then when you're addressing a client, someone who's paying you, your tone is definitely going to be different than those other audiences. The password for the day two lecture and the day two assignment that's asking for it is on the screen right now. And you can put it at the top or the bottom of the assignment. You can bold it, you can highlight it, whatever you want, as long as I can clearly see it and it's the correct password, because passwords change from week to week. So going back to purpose and audience and tone, a superior or colleague might expect a memo or an email to be updated, whereas a client may expect a formal letter or a short email, depending on the purpose. If there's an issue with an employee, a professional issue, not just like, I don't like them, responding with a letter or a memo can meet the seriousness of the moment, but that's not a rule. All of the things you see on the screen are tips, suggestions, and any sort of suggestion or even a rule can be bent, but maybe not broken, right? We are in week 2 of the project. We're in the drafting stage. Next week is week 3, and you're going to have to bring for my face-to-face courses, my hybrid courses as well, bring a printout of your draft to review with your peers. For my online classes, you're going to post your draft to a separate discussion board post. For my face-to-face classes, that should say Tuesday, Thursday. Don't worry about the Wednesday, Monday thing, or all that other stuff that I should have updated. But peer review is next week for all my classes. It's just done differently depending on if you're face-to-face or online. Next week in the video lecture and for my face-to-face courses, we're gonna talk about what I expect from peer review, what you should expect to get out of it. And for my face-to-face courses, if you miss class for Tuesday, which is peer review day, you're gonna get a 0. For my online classes, you don't post your draft on time to the separate forum assignment that says peer review, you will not be paired with a peer and you're going to get a 0. Very important. Now that we've gone over all that stuff for day 2, let's look at assignments. We're in week 2, day 2. There's understanding concepts, which reviews a lot of what I talked about already. also with some supplemental videos you could watch. Reminders about my expectations for a rough draft. This is a upper level course, so I expect more than just, oh, my draft is 80% done. It should be fully finished with just some rough edges is what I'm expecting. And there's no USF reading. I do have expectations for your rough draft. And this is where you should have your template ready to go to start an assignment that is, no, I'm not asking for APA or MLA. But this assignment on a Word doc, and then it's going to upload as a PDF. I don't really care about the APA or MLA for this assignment because I don't want you to get confused and think that an email, letter, or memo needs to be formatted MLA or APA. So don't worry about that for this assignment. What you have to worry about is you've picked a scenario, you already have an idea of what you're going to do to get a better grasp of, is this the right document maybe for that audience? Can I justify that? Re-review this link that has some suggestions on document types and appropriateness. Reminding you at the bottom or the top of the draft. I see some students put it sometimes in the assignment title. Oh, I forgot what it is. I see some students highlight it. You don't have to do it, or that can be at the bottom of your assignment. I don't care. What I care about is you have your 3 audiences. Numbering it helps. It's not required. I do want to know which scenario you chose, so help me out and type scenario 1, 2, or 3. And then I need to know, is it an email, memo, or letter? So please title, label each thing. Maybe it's a letter. Maybe number 3 is a letter. And then start typing out your response. Type out your response for the letter. And everything can be on the same one flowing document. You don't have to turn in separate email, a separate letter, whatever. You don't have to make it look professional. What I do expect is an attempt at design. And for an email, that suggests to me you should attempt subject line. You should attempt an opening of their name, salutation of some sort, dear blah, 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 or just their name. Try not to be a one block email person. That means your email has a clear middle, beginning, end, and then a sign off with your name, maybe. So you don't have to make it look like a professional email composed in your Google Draft, but you're attempting to make it kind of look like a memo. So the same thing for a letter, and you attempt maybe a fake address of some sort at the top and all the other sorts of things that are expected of a letter, opening, closing, separating the sections, beginning, middle, end. We'll talk about beautification, making them actually look like an email, memo, or letter for the final. But right now, I want to see your responses. What would you actually write to each audience? And the audience should be pretty apparent some way, even if it's a memo in the to line for a memo, I should be able to tell who you're addressing. You're going to save your document with your responses. You're going to go to USF Write, and you're going to upload your document before January 23rd at 11:59 p.m. because I do not accept rough drafts late. One final thing to take care of is an additional label of how are you going to deliver each piece of correspondence. An email, I get how you're going to deliver that to said person, but for a letter or a memo, there's a couple different ways you can do that, and that should be listed in either the readings or the understanding concepts. But for example, a letter can be sent certified mail. It can be printed out and handed to the person or put on their desk. It can be emailed as an attachment. For a memo, let me see the memo now. Not an email. A memo can be printed out or emailed as an attachment as well. So I need to know, how are you getting it to this person? What is the method of delivery for your document? Both to add to the realism, the practicality of what you're going to say and how you're going to say it to your audience. These are things to consider before you submit your rough draft. Not worrying about MLA or APA formatting, especially of the email, memo, or letter, because you can't do that and it's going to mess everything up. You're wondering how I'm going to grade it. There's a rubric right there for you. And then you're clicking ahead to peer review. And for every class, it's going to be different, but you're already looking ahead to what you need to do for peer review, so you're prepared. And there's an extra credit assignment, which is you reaching out to a tutor. There's a tutor me button on the left-hand side here. There's two different ways to get in touch with tutors. You can chat with them live and screenshot it, or you can upload your draft and they'll get back to you with some suggestions. Either way, you do not have to show me the chat necessarily, or you do not have to show me their responses necessarily. Just connect with them. Or upload your draft and screenshot it, and then come back to this assignment portal, upload it as a picture file, and you could get 5 points of extra credit. I don't need to know that you ever really spoke to them. I'm hoping you do and you get something out of it, because when you're contacting a tutor, you don't have to pay them, but whenever you pay for a course, you're already paying a tutor as part of the course fee. You might as well use it. Or you want to go to the USF Writing Studio in person, or they might have online appointments. You can book it there. And you'll have to get a confirmation from them in some way, a piece of paper, or sometimes they'll email you something like, thanks for going to the writing studio. You need a picture confirmation here. Don't just tell me, and it needs to be uploaded by January 24th at 11:59 p.m. That is it for Module 2, Day 2. Thinking about tone, the scenarios, uploading the best rough draft you can, and getting in touch with a tutor. Getting in touch with me well before any due date at the bottom of Understanding Concepts or on the folder. And until next time, you have a good day.